NRI research project to focus on Bougaiville referendum. Hela and Jiwaka provinces want more development funding. And 9th NARI Innovation Show promotes new technology.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Thursday's news. Dr. Thomas Webster says there needs to be more robust discussions around the Bougaiville referendum process. This was during the launch of a new research project by the National Research Institute that will highlight the referendum process. The research is led by Dr. Webster.
The research project was launched today by the new NRI Director, Dr. Osborne Sanida and Dr. Webster. They say the Bougaiville referendum is an important milestone in PNG's history and there should be a lot more time and resources invested to it.
The joint the committee that looks it's supposed to deal with issues, the implementation of the peace agreement. Sometimes they have not been operating as effectively as they should be operating it. And what we need to do is that the body should be strengthened and the issues put on the stand and continual engagement. And so we need to invest time in the leaders of both sides. I think on the Bougaiville side, they're well aware of the issues. They really want to get on. On the PNG side, there are a whole lot of other issues and like the elections and so on, and they've not been engaged. And what we would like to see is more engagement with the Bougaiville government and address those issues in a constructive way so that they prepare adequately for the referendum.
NRI's research is aimed at generating information that can be used by all stakeholders during the referendum process.
The first question is, what is a referendum? In PNG, we've never had referendums. It's never been provided for in our constitution. But many other countries, they have referendums. And can we have some lessons from that in terms of before the event and after the event? And also in the background about the Bougaiville peace process and why is the referendum being held at this time? The peace agreement was in 2001. That's 20 years ago. The current generation of people working in government and they have no idea about, very little background information about what happened in Bougaiville and the peace agreement.
Dr. Webster hopes that this research will also help Bougainvillians make informed decisions during the lead-up to the referendum and on the day of voting.
What are the things that we need to make sure that it's a credible referendum so that the results are respected by all parties? So that we say, yes, we had a good referendum, it was well done, and this is a result that we trust, that it shows the wishes of the Bougaiville people. And no one can say, no, that doesn't done properly. People were forcing them on the barrel of a gun to have that. Or there are too many people on the common roll and they didn't, they can't go back to a court like you do in an election and say, we're disputing the result. You either accept the result or you don't accept it. And then we don't want that to happen in the terms of Bougaiville. We want to have a good referendum that's well conducted and administered. And so the preparations for it require the attention of both governments.
And he hopes that both Bougainvillians and the PNG government are taking into serious consideration the aftermath of the referendum and especially how to deal with the results.
Are we going to accept the 51% and 49% like the British exit result? Because 51, even if 49% say, no, we want to remain a part of PNG, that's about half of the population. So, so we have to look at the results and say, are we going to go a simple majority or do we want another sort of margin through which we determine the results? So have some thinking about, if we vote for this, will we accept it and will we be able to live with it? And so I think they need to think a bit more about what the future is likely to be and what are the effects and implications, and then be able to have an informed vote as a result of that discussion that happens.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Hela and Jiwaka provinces are urging the national government to allocate special grants to the provinces to speed up development. Both provinces presented their challenges today at the 9th Highlands Regional Workshop hosted by the National Economic and Fiscal Policy Commission. The workshop is held in Kundiawa and ends tonight.
Hela and Jiwaka as the new provinces still have a long way to be fully developed in terms of government services. Despite its success story, Hela have shortage of nursing officers and have more community health workers working in the rural areas. Despite the uplifting of Hela Provincial Hospital to a level 5 hospital, there are no staff houses. Most of the health facilities in Hela province have closed because of tribal fight. The remoteness of health facilities and schools have also prompted staffs to transfer. Hela province is also facing shortages of medical supplies. Like Hela, Jiwaka province have no accommodation for public servants working at the provincial government.
Mostly basic service delivery and big time performance along all public servants in terms of service delivery does happen in the second, third quarters. But 5 years experience and government funding in a timely manner. So M1 big hindrance we even facing as a new province over the years.
Jiwaka is also facing shortages of medical staffs, which affected the closure of 8 posts in the province. Medical staffs in the province are using bicycle for mobile clinic visitation to remote areas. All of these, including other challenges, were presented to the National Economic and Fiscal Policy Commission.
Oligeroim special support grant, Jiwaka, for instance, Oligeroim special support grant lumipla. So with zero revenue base consistently over the last 5 years, how by delivering, how by establishing province when you look at special support grant lumipla.
NEFC monitors how provincial government uses its funding on 5 key priority sectors: health, education, transport and infrastructure, law and justice, and governance and development. NEFC then advised the national government on the province's needs and how much funding each province should get depending on their needs. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Kundiawa.
The owner of Medang Resort, Sir Peter Bata, says the government needs to support tourism in the provinces a lot more than in the past. He says the government's initiative of establishing tourist hubs is a good idea, but it doesn't really work. He says provinces like Medang, once held high in the tourism industry, are now being demoted. Sir Peter's remarks come as Medang is experiencing a decline in the tourism sector.
Medang province is arguably one of the most beautiful provinces in Papua New Guinea that attracts tourists from all over the world. It is the province that also has a lot of the tourism facilities that were built over 40 years ago. The owner of the Melanesian Tourist Services, Sir Peter Bata, and his wife have been part of the tourism development in Medang. He and his wife started the tourism services back in 1974.
We started off as Telco Tours, which is a company that actually belonged to Territory Airlines, or Tel Air, back in 1967. And I established the division, then was based in Jiwaka. But in 1974, just before independence, the owner of Territory Airlines, Sir Dennis Buchanan, he made a decision to get rid of all these allied associate businesses, including Telco Tours. And I put my hand up at the time and I said, well, I'd like to take it over with my wife. So we bought out the assets of Telco Tours and we moved the headquarters to Medang.
In the 1970s, they were pioneers in bringing at least 16,000 tourists into PNG yearly.
That may not seem a big number, but you've got to understand those tourists were staying in the country for 15, 16 days, and they were staying very expensive trips, and we were attracting a very professional group of people, business people. And the volume, or the amount of money that they brought into the country was quite substantial. Since we moved to Medang, we continued on being an inbound operator and promoting tourism to the country. Up to about 1986, things were going relatively well. I think we reached a number of 20,000 in the year 2000. And again, it may not sound much, but it is a lot when you consider that they were all high-yield tourists, and the economy they were bringing to the country was substantial.
But for the past decade, there has been a decline in the number of tourists coming into the country, and this is due to a number of issues.
We had so many cancelled flights, disrupted flights, that major tour operators overseas could no longer really depend on the schedule. tourism is a very personal business, a business that can be legally challenged. And if a tour operator overseas sells a tour for someone to come to Papua New Guinea, and for some reason or other they can't provide what was contracted to, they have the ability to go around and sue the operator, who in turn sue us, and the end result is that we lose those tourism. So that's one factor that came about. You also had other factors such as the SARS, the diseases, people reluctant to travel long distances. You had terrorism, which, as we all know, has caused a tremendous change in the way we travel, what we do today. We worldwide have probably chosen to travel closer to home than they do on long distance. This, of course, has affected tourism in Papua New Guinea. There's other factors as well, and there's the criminal activities in Papua New Guinea. And whilst I cannot say that we've lost any business as a result of any criminal activities, we've never had one of our clients attacked, raped or robbed in anywhere in Papua New Guinea. The fact is, it has happened, and unfortunately when it does happen, it sends out a very strong signal worldwide.
Since 2010, Madang has seen an increase in criminal activities. This is one of the primary causes for the decline in tourism. The drop in the industry has also affected those who depend on the industry as a source of income. Mataluvis, National EMTV News, Madang.
The National Agriculture Research Institute hosted its 9th Innovation Show in Leh today. The show is an annual event which brings together NARI's partners, farmers and educational institutions to interact and exhibit skills for innovative agricultural development.
The research center at NARI in Leh was crowded with students, organizations and farmers who made it to the show to experience the innovations developed by NARI and its partners. Displayed at the show were innovations such as this garden tiller and the solar-powered rice mill. 2 grade 8 students from Arab Primary School said the show was an opportunity for them to complete their school projects.
Yes, she is helpful and wonderful that I never seen before.
This is the 9th Agriculture Innovation Show with its objective to bring NARI skilled farmers, business partners and research organizations to share and exchange information. 15 smallholder farmer groups participated today in this year's innovation show. A guava farmer from Ngalonzua farm, Edith Babul, was present to select juicy Indian guavas.
PNG women I've been Saramina, I've been go school to Queensland University, 3.5 years. Now I studying na come back. So me work in close breeding, budding, drafting now me got all huge guavas lohiesta.
Show chairman James Laraki said agriculture is the most important sector in the PNG economy, which unfortunately is lacking government support. He said NARI is financially supported by its corporate partners and the Australian government.
Any other government departments and agencies that have no money, but we try our best to put it up for the good of agriculture and development so that, agriculture, developing agriculture has to be done with innovations and inventions. And if we don't share or bring out these inventions and innovations that we have, then we don't think agriculture will develop.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipata says as a senior Highlands leader and MP, he is committed to supporting the People's National Congress Party. Sir Peter said today he will fulfill his obligation as a senior leader in the government of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. The Enga Governor, who this week handed over the leadership to the party he founded, says he will maintain his alliance with the People's Party because both parties have the same ideals and vision for development. Sir Peter pledged his support to back sitting Prime Minister Peter O'Neill to form the next government if re-elected. Here with National EMTV News, we'll be back with more stories after these messages. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The National Court in Port Moresby will hand down a verdict on the murder case involving businessman Justin Parker on May the 22nd. Deputy Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika made this order following submissions on Parker's verdict this morning. Parker was accused of murdering his employee, Lepan Nason, on the 6th of June 2015. Parker submitted through his lawyers that Nason's death was a result of self-defense, while the state told the courts that it was out of anger that Parker fronted up at the deceased's house and assaulted him. Sitting NCD Governor Paul Spakop says rival candidates banding together to unseat him are attacking below the belt. His response to 4 candidates comes while condemning an attack on street vendors. He claims it was done to smear his reputation. He says one of the candidates should go back to the Jiwaka province and run for elections there. Bethany Harriman with this report.
Today at City Hall, Paul Spakop called an urgent press conference to denounce police attacks in Port Moresby. Vendors were assaulted by police around the city in 3 separate locations. Spakop claims it's a political motivated hit to smear his election trail. Vendors at a downtown spot and Hohola were targeted. Their pictures uploaded on social media.
But some of our candidates, they are former policemen. So I'm not suggesting that they are responsible. I don't have very clear evidence on that. But I cannot understand the logic of the police operation. I've given all the information that has been given to me, including the vehicle number plate, the time and location. And I expect the Metropolitan Superintendent to deal with them.
The sitting governor also said the election strategies of some candidates banding together to unseat him is below the belt and dirty politics.
Those type of campaign, it's unbecoming of people seeking high office. So I think it's like below the belt type of a campaign.
It comes when Michael Kandui, James Malagapa, Jamuga Stone and Jamie Maxton Graham held a press conference on the 29th of last month to announce that they've banded together to unseat Paul Spakop.
2,038 candidates who have nominated. Please, we need to monitor the counting process. And I appeal to the Electoral Commissioner to bring international observers, perhaps the Australian Electoral Commission officials.
Today, Paul Spakop had this message for Jamie Maxton Graham.
But for him to come and disrupt the people in Jiwaka and come back here, trying to present himself again as, somebody who can really do better in the city. I think it's unbecoming of people like that to jump here and there, looking for mandate from people all over the place. So.
Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
A candidate in the 2017 national election says the next big thing elected leaders must do is to save PNG's falling economy. Max Kamba, who is contesting the Yanguru South seat in East Sepik Province, has strong views about how the national economy is being managed. Kamba is among 16 other candidates contesting the seat currently held by Richard Maru.
Following his nomination last week, Kamba spoke critically of the current economic status of the country. He says the next lot of elected leaders must address the economic struggles the country is facing.
Because our economy is in a bad state now, and we are focusing on rescuing the economy for the future generations of Papua New Guinea. And I want to bring new leadership to Young Rosasia for United Young Rosasia.
Despite being a first-timer to politics, Kamba is optimistic of unseating current Trade and Commerce Minister Richard Maru. Kamba believes he has the backing of his people. He will run under the New Generation Party flag led by opposition strongman and current Goroka MP Biraki Misopa.
I have no problems with all my product candidates in Young Rosasia. I am most welcome to work with any candidates and let the people decide, and we find a leader that will bring lead Young Rosasia in the next 5 years.
In an unrelated election matter, the silence over the status of the economy has disappointed the head of a leading bottling water company. Achilles Penny told MTV News government departments are struggling to pay the debts, which stands around 56,000. He says the government's ignorance is a worry for local businesses.
There are many Papua New Guineans right throughout the country who are entrepreneurs running their own business who are in this dilemma and who are not talking or complaining. I've got friends who are in business, running their own business enterprises, talking to me that they have outstanding in millions. The government has not paid and have not paid for about a year plus.
The bottling water company has downsized its workforce as it struggles to keep its head above water. Outside politics, Penny says the next government after the election will struggle to build the economy.
It might take another 100 years for us to fully realize who we are. And that worries me.
Jack Lapava Jr., National, MTV News.
PNG Media Council President Alexander Rini says Papua New Guinea has come a long way in terms of press freedom. However, the media has continued to face challenges along the way. One of the challenges is getting the public and authorities to appreciate the role media plays in the development of the country. He made these comments yesterday in commemorating World Press Freedom Day.
The media plays an important role in disseminating information to the public that must be factual and unbiased. With these roles comes responsibilities. However, PNG Media has faced continued challenges in the course of gathering and reporting news.
Threats, intimidation, physical assault. We still need to get Papua New Guineans, including authorities such as policemen, to appreciate the role that the media continues to play in the development of the country. How do we do that? We need to reach out more with the community. We need to get them to come into our newsrooms to get to see the product.
According to the Reporters Without Borders, PNG has been ranked 51 in the 2017 World Press Freedom Index, improving from ranked as 55 last year. This year is also a critical time for media houses as the country conducts the national general elections. Mainstream media also faces a challenging role in disseminating information with the rise of social media. While these can be used as a platform for disseminating information and more interaction with politicians and the public, this is what Mr. Rini had to say.
Do you want to choose social media, which can be unregulated, or do you go with mainstream media, which has rules and regulations to abide by? And that's one of the things that Papua New Guineans face today.
Meanwhile, journalism students from the University of Papua New Guinea's School of Humanities and Social Science held a small and significant ceremony to commemorate the day. MTV News spoke to some students who gave their views of World Press Freedom Day and the role of PNG media.
I'm just concerned because if there's no help from the media industry and if they are not celebrating World Press Freedom Day, then what's going to happen to us aspiring journalists and featured journalists if we go out there and when we get oppressed or when we get harassed?
So we are the voice for the people, so we actually speak, we disseminate information to the people so they know what's happening in and around. So the job is very important, and I think that this day is a very significant day because it helps us to appreciate the work of journalists.
My view is I want it must be free of movement so they can just pass out news freely without the government controlling over them.
Marilyn Diaukatam, National MTV News.
Information and communication technology is still a developing industry, with the services only reaching populations that have access to road networks. NICTA last week said investment in human resources is critical for further advancement.
You don't often get to see the faces who control these much-needed services. Everyday Papua New Guineans who make communication possible. But NICTA, the country's ICT regulator, is recognizing the hard work by young, aspiring women.
In 2016, we reviewed our program and decided to take a step a little bit further to empower girls through creating opportunities for them to pursue higher degrees or higher learning opportunities by
NICTA's support comes at a time where information services are still expensive in the country.
It encouraged our young females, mostly those ones who were the recipients of the scholarship that NICTA is offering.
It believes that human resources have to make the services accessible. The recipients share a common trait of being disciplined and focused.
Down to self-management and organization.
Harry Agimbari, National EMTV News, Leh.
Sitting East New Britain Governor Eraman Tobining Jr. says the oil palm industry is adding value to the development of East New Britain. Amidst the challenges, Governor Tobining says people are realizing the spin-offs benefits that come with supporting such an industry. He made this statement after signing instruments for the Kairak Nucleus Oil Palm Agreement in Port Moresby today.
The Government House signing this afternoon sees East New Britain becoming a stronghold of growing support for the oil palm industry. The signing is under the public-private partnership between the East New Britain Provincial Government, Department of Trade and Commerce and developer Chan Nigini Limited. In the past 15 years, East New Britain's economy has been driven by cocoa and coconut. But in the last 4 years, oil palm has been making its mark in the province. Speaking after the signing, East New Britain Governor Eraman Tobining Jr. says oil palm has its challenges but pays off if stakeholders work together.
This signing, the company will continue to partner with the provincial government in East New Britain, and again, on behalf of the provincial government, my people of East New Britain would like to thank each of every one of us today, with the trade industry, the state government agencies, and the company, which again working through the development in East New Britain in terms of oil palm industry.
In 2014, East New Britain opened an oil palm mill in Pomio district. A second mill is planned for construction in Gazelle. Governor Tobining says not just roads and bridges are being built, but other vital services as well.
The partnership and the education sector, which today this company partnering with the districts and the province, building up new infrastructure through new schools. But yes, as the first stage, we will experience its challenges, whether it's good or bad. But at the end of the day, people will start realizing the importance of oil palm industry.
According to Tobining, oil palm alone generates 1 to 2 million kina in annual revenue for East New Britain. Jacob Pavel Jr., National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307, $0.4107 Australian dollars, $0.2793 euro, and 34.31 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee closed higher, gold and cocoa closed lower, while copper closed the day unchanged. Palm oil and crude oil closed lower, while copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 8 points higher, the ASX closed 20 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 19 points lower. Here with National EMTV News, stories making headlines overseas when we return. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, the director of the FBI has defended his announcement about the probe into Hillary Clinton's emails just days before the US elections. He says while it makes him feel mildly nauseous to think he had an impact on the election outcome, he maintains he had no choice.
A public and passionate defense from the FBI director for his decision to disclose less than 2 weeks before the election that the FBI discovered potentially important Clinton emails. He said he faced two painful options.
So I stared at speak and conceal. Speak would be really bad. There's an election in 11 days. Lordy, that would be really bad. Concealing, in my view, would be catastrophic. Not just to the FBI, but well beyond.
Just yesterday, Hillary Clinton said the disclosure was a big factor in her defeat. In response to that, President Trump tweeted that Comey gave her a free pass for many bad deeds. But Comey said he has no second thoughts.
This was terrible. It makes me mildly nauseous to think that we might have had some impact on the election. But honestly, it wouldn't change the decision.
He said the last-minute discovery was 40,000 emails sent by Clinton aide Huma Abedin to a laptop belonging to her husband, Anthony Weiner, so they could be printed. 12 turned out to be classified.
Why did you conclude neither of them committed a crime?
Because with respect to Ms. Abedin in particular, we didn't have any indication that she had a sense that what she was doing was in violation of the law. Couldn't prove any sort of criminal intent.
He said he did not reveal that the FBI was looking into the Trump campaign during the election because it doesn't make its investigations public. But he said the Clinton email case had already been disclosed by the Justice Department after the intelligence community raised red flags.
40 years on from Australia's worst train disaster, the victims have finally received a formal apology from the New South Wales government. 83 people died and 213 were injured in the crash in 1977.
This moment has been so long coming that some of the victims and families from the Granville disaster decided not to come today, a boycott in protest. But for most of those that attended, certainly those that I spoke to, this was a deeply moving and significant event for them. The Granville train disaster stands as the worst rail accident in Australian history. 18th of January 1977, the train from the Blue Mountains derailed and smashed into the supports of the Bold Street Bridge in Granville. 84 were killed, half of them instantly as they sat in their seats, and the bridge collapsed on top of them. 213 were also injured. Now, subsequent inquiries found that the rail system was shambolic, the bridge was poorly built, a recipe for disaster, but there was next to no compensation at the time, and there was no official apology from any agency, particularly not the government, well, until today.
I want to take this opportunity after 40 years of that sad and horrific day to acknowledge and apologise on behalf of the state government to all those who still suffer today as a consequence of what happened that day.
For the victims and families and the first responders as well, this was a critically important moment.
It's important for the pain that needs to be released, and even 40 years on, as was mentioned in there, that pain for a lot of people is still just as raw as the day it happened.
I think it gives people a sense of closure, and if someone acknowledges we are sorry for it, that's what they need to hear. It doesn't take away their losses, but it makes them feel as if somebody's showing them solidarity and support.
Now, the reason no apology was given, according to the families and the campaigners, was that simply the government didn't want to admit liability and potentially open up the chance of litigation against them. But when asked if they'd consider going down that path today, the Granville Train Disaster Association says that it has considered it, but it's decided now to rule it out, saying simply, now is not the time, this was not the moment, and it was time to move on.
A new study has found going gluten-free could actually be bad for your health. Researchers have discovered that unless you are allergic to meat, cutting out foods like bread might put you at risk of a heart attack.
If you're on a gluten-free or low-gluten diet, it's pretty easy these days to find a cafe or restaurant or supermarkets that cater to your preferences. And it's not just a passing fad. Global sales of gluten-free products increased by more than 12% last year. But a new study published by the British Medical Journal has basically debunked the theory that going gluten-free is healthier and prevents heart disease. Researchers at 2 universities in the United States say they collected data from almost 120,000 people over 26 years and found no evidence to support that claim. They say not having gluten means you're also missing out on fibre and vitamins and whole grains, and that can actually cause heart attacks. There are people who are genuinely gluten intolerant, wheat sensitive, or have celiac disease, and those people have nasty symptoms when they do have gluten. They can have bloating, diarrhoea and vomiting, but that is a rare condition and only affects about 1% of the population worldwide. But scientists who took part in this study now say that if you do not have any of those symptoms and you're just doing it because you think it's healthier, think again, and you should definitely include gluten in your diet.
Natalie Rita says she owes her life to her quick-thinking daughter, Georgia, who saved her from a life-threatening crash in rural New South Wales. The brave 4-year-old told her story about how she ran almost a kilometre to call for help for her mum.
Rita is recovering remarkably well here at John Hunter Hospital after surviving a terrifying farming accident. The proud mum believes the actions of her 4-year-old daughter Georgia without a doubt saved her life. Now, the RTV buggy Natalie was operating on Tuesday slipped down a steep embankment on the family's property just west of NARI. Georgia had only just got out of the buggy when the accident happened. Natalie was trapped underneath the vehicle but told her little girl to run home and call 000. Barefoot and with her dog by her side, Georgia ran back to the family home 700 metres away. She even grazed her face after falling over. But she pushed through the pain and panic to do exactly what she was told to.
I ran back to the home and then I called 000.
For 3 agonising hours, Natalie managed to stay conscious and calm as she waited for emergency crews to arrive. Free but badly injured, the Westpac Rescue helicopter airlifted her to John Hunter Hospital. And as she recovers from major leg surgery, she's urged all parents to teach their children to call 000.
Doesn't matter how young or old they are, teach them. She's an inspiration. Oh, bless her, and she's just the bravest kid, and I'm so proud of her.
Natalie will find out on Sunday if she requires further surgery to a badly injured leg. But either way, she faces a lengthy rehabilitation process.
Here with National MTV News. Up next, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League chairman, Sandis Chaka, will represent Papua New Guinea at the annual Asia Pacific Rugby League Confederation and Rugby League International Federation meetings in Sydney on Saturday. He says one of the main topics on the agenda is the international calendar for the next 5 years beginning in 2018. He adds this will also be the first time for all Pacific members to meet. PNG RFL CEO Reatao Rao will also be in attendance. PNG Kumul's coach Michael Marum has named his final team to take on the Cook Islands this Saturday. Despite the last-minute changes to the team due to player injuries and suspensions, he has equally capable players to fill in their spots.
Coach Michael Marum had to make a few changes to his team after the late suspension of Willie Minoga by the Queensland Rugby League and the withdrawal of Nene McDonald. Marum has put in Richard Pandya, who will make his debut for the Kumuls when he starts on the wing this weekend. He becomes Kumul number 279 to ever don the Kumuls jumper. Other debutants are Nixon Put and Tommy Butterfield, who will start off the bench. Wellington Albert and Israel Elliott will start off the interchange bench as well. PNG RFL chairman Sandy Saka will present the jerseys to the debutants at the team hotel tomorrow evening. The final team sees Tagroth Amin at fullback, Justin Olam and Richard Pandya on the wings, Adex Wera and Thompson Tete in the centres. The Boas brothers will control the halves, while Wartovo Puara will feed the forward pack in the hooker position. Captain Rod Griffin leads the forward pack and will see Reece Martin, Luke Page and Stanton Albert take on the opposition's defence. On the interchange bench, we'll have debutants Tommy Butterfield and Nixon Put with Wellington Albert and Israel Elliott. The game kicks off at 3:15 p.m. at Campbelltown Sports Stadium on Saturday. This will be followed by Tonga vs Fiji and the last of the triple header between England and Samoa. All matches will be shown live here on MTV. Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
The Intercity Cup competition will stage a double-header at the Sir John Guy Stadium in Port Moresby. NCT Vipers will line up against Mendi Muruks in the first match, scheduled for a 1:30 p.m. kickoff. Reigning premiers Lace Next Tigers, who had a comfortable win over the Agmark Rabal Gurias, will face Croton Hela Wigmen in the second match. Gates open at 12 p.m. with the tickets at 10 kina for the outer stands and 20 kina for grandstand, and can be purchased at the gate. Other round 2 matches will be played on Sunday as Rabaul Agma Gurriers host Goroka Lahanis at Kalabon in Kokopo, and Wagitumbe take on Enga Mioks in Minj. To the NRL, intense clashes were seen in round 9 as the competition heads midway through the 2017 season. The Bulldogs will take on Cowboys in the opening match of round 10. Coming from a sour defeat against the Parramatta Eels, the Cowboys may bring on their A game, though the Bulldogs are still fresh from their victory last week to the Raiders and may cause problems for the Dogs. And the Dragons will meet the Sharks tomorrow afternoon.
Having fed the scrum to the blind.
And Friday night football will also see the Rabbitohs make a run for the West Tigers trial and as many as they can to recover from the 8-46 beating they got from the Seagulls last Friday.
Over the Rabbits by 46 points to 8.
And the Warriors will fight to keep down the Raiders to maintain or rather improve the 11th placing on the points ladder.
Austin, what a try to the Green Machine!
While the Gold Coast Titans will be put under Storm's pressure come Saturday.
Out the back and running now, Lawton!
The Broncos and the Seagulls will battle to prove their credentials once more. Now that they are equal on level of play, the match will see who plays superior football.
When Jordan Curry went for the bomb, they're just not...
And to other matches on Sunday, Roosters will take on Eels while Knights will face the Raiders. Dinero Raiko, National, EMTV Sports.
Still on Rugby League, Australia will take on New Zealand in the Anzac Test. Also preparing for the tests are the National Women's Rugby League teams.
The Kangaroos and Kiwis are finalising preparations for tomorrow night's Anzac Test. Jonathan Thurston and Darius Boyd are both expected to overcome injuries. Captain Cameron Smith was presented with a special medal last night ahead of his 50th Test match.
It's a pretty special achievement, you know, for myself and my family to play 50 Test matches.
I think I debuted against Cameron in 2006, so it showed how old I am. And you know, and yeah, that's right. That's right.
The doubleheader begins with the Jillaroos taking on the Kiwi Ferns.
We just can't wait to get out there and pull on that green and gold jersey tomorrow night and show the world what Women's International Rugby League really is and show the skill level that we have.
Great Ambassador Ruan. All 4 teams are building towards the Rugby League World Cup in October.
Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Papua New Guinea Leopards are currently up against Samoa in the last battle to secure a spot in the ICC T20 Women's Cricket World Cup. After 3 wins in 4 games, the Leopards are once again facing 2015 Pacific Games gold medalist Samoa, and this time it's a do-or-die moment for the PNG ladies to take out the East Asia Pacific title once again.
The match, currently played in Japan, will decide whether the Leopards maintain their top spot in the region or lose it to Samoa. They started off the campaign well, defeating Vanuatu by 9 wickets and later losing to Samoa by 18 runs. It was a great comeback for them when they took out Japan in a 78 runs victory on Sunday. In the 4th round, the Leopards sent Vanuatu packing with a 5-wicket win. Now facing a very determined Samoan side, the Leopards are aware of the importance of making this game rule in their favour.
I'm happy to help the team win today. We want to win tomorrow's game with a big score to make our run rate higher.
Winning the decider again would mean an entry to the World Cup once more and another chance to better the performance from last year in Colombo. A calculating Samoan side also acknowledged how strong the PNG team is, considering they have been at the top for over 2 years now. With months of work put into training to get them there, Coach Ronnie Maha may have to look at the next preparation to get them to the World Cup as the decider sums up a few hours from now.
But this game is really important for us to win by run rate, so we need to score more runs. We need to give them a all out, so we have to win the first run rate.
As defending champions, the PNG side has been the strongest in the last 2 years, taking out the East Asia Pacific title twice and qualifying for the World Cup. Now vying one more time for entry, the current decider is a match they have to win. Dinero Strico, National EMTV Sports.
To netball, the Port Moresby Netball Association had their junior season opener last weekend, and for this weekend they will play at the Rita Flynn courts on Saturday for round 2, while the senior divisions will play using the new drafting system next Wednesday in their round 1 of competition at the indoor courts at Rita Flynn. The public is invited to go over to the netball courts on Wednesday to watch some good netball action as well as the new competition style in place. To football abroad, Cristiano Ronaldo scored a dazzling hat-trick to lead Real Madrid to a crushing 3-0 victory over city rivals Atletico Madrid. The ruthless effort by Ronaldo in the first leg of the Champions League semi-final puts Real on a smooth run to the finals.
The Portuguese striker put his team on the verge of their third final in 4 years and took his tally to 103 goals in the competition.
Hold off his man, it's going to fall back to the feet of Ronaldo!
Real Madrid vanquished their near neighbors at the Santiago Bernabeu. It was another demolishing European defeat for Atletico at the hands of Real. The praise, however, belonged once again to Ronaldo, who had it home in the 10th minute. The Portuguese put his team on the verge of another final appearance when Karim Benzema set him up to smash home on the half volley in the 73rd minute.
Ronaldo hat-trick!
Ronaldo completed his 42nd hat-trick from close range with 4 minutes remaining as Atletico offered little resistance.
Handball from behind that goal. It's just going to be a corner.
Ronaldo scored all 3 goals as Madrid beat Atletico, which means Atletico's final European game at the stadium next week is now likely to be a dull affair.
Real Madrid, 1 foot in the door of the final in Cardiff.
Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, your weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a quick look at the weather for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, mostly fine with a top of 31. Fine weather expected in Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta as well, with a top temperature of 31 degrees.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And to end the news, a recap of our main stories tonight. NRI research project to focus on Bougaiville referendum. Hela and Jiwaka provinces want more development funding. And 9th NARI Innovation Show promotes agricultural skills development. And that's been the news, sports and weather for today, Thursday, the 4th of May 2017. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.